Okay, so let's keep moving. Um, what I'm going to do is I want you guys to highlight just these components here, and I want you to Control C, copy, Control V, and I want you guys to copy or paste down three of these. So there's two and then three. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys something that's really convenient when working in Grasshopper, and that's actually grouping things together. So let's say I want this group here to be unified. What I do is I hit spacebar. So after it's highlighted green, you hit spacebar and it pulls up this little dialog menu. And there's a little icon here that says group. When you click on that, it groups everything together that's been highlighted. So that means if I move this, it'll move the whole group. Okay? And if I and then so if I were to group this as well, I would hit spacebar and then click the group icon, and now this is all grouped together, and I can move all these uniformly as one unit. Um, let's say I also want to change the color. I just right click on the group anywhere and then go to color, and let's say I want this to be kind of this blue, and then click off the screen. You can also click on the group, and um, you can hit you can double click on the group with the left mouse button, and it'll change the form of that group like this, and it'll just default back to the square if you wanted to, but you should keep clicking, and it's really your personal preference. Groups really help you identify certain component groups and what each component group is doing. If I wanted this to actually become part of that group a little bit better, I just move it over like that. Okay, so basically what we have is we have this set of components copied 3 times. Now what we're going to do with this information here is we're going to go to vector point, and we're going to construct a point from this information that we've provided here. So go to construct point and drop that in. Okay, now it's giving me an X, Y, and Z coordinate. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to change, let's see, some of this information so that it doesn't look the same, and so I don't have the same values. And you'll see why in a minute, because I'm going to create a series of points based on this information. Okay, so connect that to that, connect the middle one to the Y, and then the last one to the Z. Now you're not going to see the Z axis, but right now all you're really seeing are these random points. So if I go through and I change my number slider, all these points start toggling randomly. Same in this direction as well. When I toggle that back and forth, or I'm sorry, not toggle, slide it back and forth, it gives me all these different values. Once again, the number 9 is the number of points, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you want this number to be the same, okay? Because what it's giving you is each of these is giving you a coordinate. So if I were to actually show you what it looks like, then using one of these let's see, panels, it would essentially, each point here has an X, Y, and Z value, and there are 9 points. Now if I change, I'm sorry, 10 points, because I've got this 0 to 9, which is 10 points. If I were to reduce this to 8, then this should also go to 8, and there you go. So you can see how there's only 8 points. So I want 10 points, so I'll keep it at 10. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of that panel by deleting it. And then what we're going to do is we are now going to begin to connect these things together. So I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to pull this plane and stick that right there. And I'm going to show you what happens when I connect these points all to that plane. Bam, look at that. That's kind of cool, huh? So you essentially, each of these points here now have a circle associated with a location, and that radius is random because it comes from this random generator. So if I were to slide this, it would randomly change all those different circles. And then if I were to change some values here, it would change all these circles' positions. It would randomly adjust and change the random, or the position, in a random manner. So I think that's pretty cool, and you can do a lot of stuff with that from a visual standpoint. It's up to you to figure how this would be applied and how this could be used, but I'm just kind of giving you a few of the tools. Anyway, so now this is all fine and dandy, but I want to give it, I want to put a little bit of color into it. Because right now everything is just a bunch of lines, and I might actually want to, you know, spice it up a little bit, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control V, and since I already have this as my copy paste, I'm going to put this down here, and I'm going to create a series of random colors that I'm going to apply to these circles. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to copy paste the same group of components here that generates a random number, so to speak, and then I'm going to grab up here under parameters, or params, input, I'm going to go to the color wheel, and I'm going to bring a color wheel down. So this is a pretty sweet little color wheel, and it has the saturation. It also gives you the luminance. I believe that's what it is. But basically it changes the color values. If you right click on it, you can do it monochromatic, which only gives you one value, bichromatic, obviously two values. In this case we're going to go tetrachromatic, which is four different values, just to kind of have a larger range, and you can adjust this however you want. And we're going to bring that there, and we're going to connect the random generator to that color wheel. Okay, now in order for these circles to take on these colors that we're assigning here, we also need to grab under vector color, and we need a custom preview. Okay, now it's asking us for two things: the geometry, which we can give it from here, and then it's also asking for the shader. Well, we're going to give that information here. Okay, but before we do that, we're actually going to ensure that these spheres are not only being colored on the actual outline, so to speak, as the actual pencil mark or the line of the sphere, but we actually want to fill it in. So we're going to go to Surface, and we're going to go to Boundary Surfaces, and we're going to bring in that boundary surface, and we're going to drag that line there, which is going to essentially fill in each of those circles, and then we're going to connect that to there. So now we have all these different geometries that are now filled in surfaces. Okay, so finally we're going to go to this color wheel again, and then we're going to attach that to the shader, and then basically this is what you got. You've got a random assortment of colors. Now, the reason you can't really see what's going on right now is because you have to turn some of this stuff off so that just this previewer here is shown. So you're going to click on this, you're going to hit spacebar, and you're going to disable it. Okay, so that now gives you the colors, and if I were to go through here and slide that, that would give me a series of random colors. Now let me see if I can make this a little bit. There we go. Let's see if that'll work a little bit nicer. Alright, let's say I want to stick with that. Alright, no, come on, let's see something nice here. I don't like any of these. Let's try, let's increase the saturation, and then there we go. Alright, so that's a little bit better, and let's see what we got here. Alright, since I had a baby, I'll stick with these Art Deco kind of colors here. So alright, so alright, so if I wanted to actually adjust the height of different circles, because if you recall, there's a z coordinate. So if I actually minimize Grasshopper and go to the perspective view, you can see that each of these planes are in different locations in the z-axis. You see that? It's toggling back and forth. Now, there's no reason why, if you wanted just to have this be a 2D graphic, that you can't just look at it from the top and have it be just in the top view. Okay. I can also adjust my Z here. There we go. So that's kind of interesting. It gives me all kinds of different assortments of colors. So you can really begin to play with you know, the colors. You can play with the radius, you know, different radius of each of these circles. So if I begin to toggle that around, I can play with the XY as well, something like that. Okay, now so this is nice, but there's a lot more that we can do with this as well, so I'll pick that up on the next part.